They arrested a black woman in the mall right in front of her daughter. But what followed was something no one could have predicted. The day had begun like any other for Lydia and her daughter, Jasmine, a simple plan to enjoy some quality time shopping and grabbing lunch together. But this day, which started with such joy, quickly spiraled into one they would remember forever. Lydia woke up that morning with excitement bubbling inside her. Glancing at the clock, she realized she had plenty of time to prepare a little birthday surprise for Jasmine. The city of Chicago was just beginning to stir, with the promise of a perfect day hanging in the air. Lydia crept downstairs quietly so as not to disturb Jasmine, who was still peacefully asleep. She got to work making Jasmine's favorite breakfast, fluffy pancakes drizzled with maple syrup, scrambled eggs, and crispy bacon. The aroma soon wafted upstairs, gently waking Jasmine, who eagerly bounded downstairs, her energy filling every corner of the house. "Happy birthday, sweetheart," Lydia said, opening her arms wide. Jasmine giggled as she ran into her mother's warm embrace. "Thanks, Mom. Today's going to be amazing, isn't it?" she asked, her eyes shining with anticipation. "It's going to be the best day ever," Lydia promised, "starting with this special breakfast just for you." As they ate, Lydia shared the plans she had in mind for the day. "So, Jasmine, what's the one thing you want to do most today?" she asked, already guessing her daughter's response. Jasmine's eyes lit up even more. "Can we go to the mall? I want to check out the toys and maybe get that new book I've been asking for." Lydia couldn't help but laugh. "Of course, we'll go to the mall, have lunch, and you can pick out your present," she said. They quickly got ready and set off, the sun shining brightly as if to bless their day with nothing but good vibes. On the way, Jasmine chattered away about the books she wanted to read and how she couldn't wait to dive into new stories. Lydia felt a swell of happiness knowing she could make her daughter's day so special. "You know, Jasmine," Lydia began, "when I was your age, my mom took me to buy my very first favorite book. It was one of the best days of my life." Jasmine looked up at her mom, intrigued. "Really, Mom? What book was it?" she asked. Lydia smiled at the memory. "Oh, a bunch of the classics." "It was a different time, but the joy of reading was just the same," she said, when they finally arrived at the sprawling shopping center. They were greeted by the cool breeze of the air conditioning and the lively hum of shoppers bustling about. Jasmine's eyes widened with excitement as she took it all in. "Mom, look! That toy store!" she exclaimed, pointing at a large, colorful display. "Let's go check it out," Lydia said, happy to see her daughter's enthusiasm. Inside the toy store, Jasmine was in her element, darting from one aisle to another, picking up toys and carefully considering each one. Lydia watched her with a smile, enchanted by her daughter's simple joy. "What do you think of this one, Mom?" Jasmine asked, holding up a gigantic plush unicorn. Lydia chuckled. "It would be perfect for your collection, but don't forget, we still have to check out the books," she reminded Jasmine with a wink. Jasmine grinned and placed the unicorn back on the shelf. "Oh, right. I can't forget about that," she said playfully. After spending what felt like hours exploring the toy store, they moved on to other shops, discovering new things and making memories along the way. Time flew by, and before long their stomachs began to rumble. "How about we grab some lunch now?" Lydia suggested. "Yes, I'm starving," Jasmine agreed, holding her mother's hand as they made their way to the restaurant they had picked out earlier. They found a table with a lovely view of the mall's grand fountain, and Jasmine sat down with a contented sigh, her eyes still sparkling from the day's excitement. Lydia scanned the menu, thinking aloud, "How about we start with some onion rings, Jasmine?" knowing her daughter's answer before she even asked. "Yes, I love onion rings," Jasmine replied eagerly. Just then, a friendly waitress named Sarah approached their table. "Hi, I'm Sarah, and I'll be taking care of you today. Have you decided what you'd like to order?" she asked with a smile. Lydia ordered onion rings to start, a grilled chicken sandwich for herself, and a burger with fries for Jasmine. "Great choices. I'll be right back with your onion rings," Sarah said, heading back to the kitchen. As they waited for their food, Lydia and Jasmine reminisced about their day so far. "What's been your favorite store today, Jasmine?" Lydia asked, leaning in. "The toy store was absolutely magical. Those unicorns were incredible, but I'm even more excited to explore the bookstore," Jasmine exclaimed, her eyes twinkling with anticipation. "I'm sure you'll find something you'll love," Lydia responded with a warm smile. "Today is all about you, and we're going to make it unforgettable." Just then, Sarah arrived with a basket of onion rings. "Here are your onion rings. Your main dishes will be out shortly," she announced, placing the appetizer on the table. "Thank you," Lydia and Jasmine chimed in unison, diving into the onion rings with gusto. Their conversation bubbled over with excitement as Jasmine shared her enthusiasm for books, describing the stories she couldn't wait to read, and promising to share her favorites with her friends. "Dad, I'm going to be the best reader ever," Jasmine declared with confidence. "I have no doubt, sweetheart. With your dedication, you can achieve anything you set your mind to," Lydia replied, her voice filled with pride. Shortly after, Sarah returned with their main courses, placing them gently on the table. "Here's the burger with fries for the birthday girl and a grilled chicken sandwich for you, ma'am." "Enjoy," she said with a smile. "Thank you, Sarah," Lydia responded. They began eating, savoring every delicious bite, the atmosphere making their meal even more special. "This burger is amazing, Mom," Jasmine exclaimed, her mouth full of fries. "I'm so glad you're enjoying it, Jasmine. Today is a day to remember," Lydia said, her heart full of contentment. Once they had finished, Lydia asked for the check and left a generous tip for Sarah's excellent service. "Ready to pick out your present now?" Lydia asked as they prepared to leave. "Yes, let's go," Jasmine replied, practically bouncing with joy. As they exited the restaurant, they decided to explore more of the mall's attractions. The place was buzzing with options: bumper cars, arcade games, even a small Ferris wheel. Jasmine was glowing with excitement, eager to try everything. "Where should we start, Mom?" Jasmine asked, her eyes darting between all the fun activities. "How about the bumper cars?" Lydia suggested, pointing to the nearby attraction. "Yes, let's go!" Jasmine shouted, dashing ahead. They quickly bought their tickets and joined the line, with Jasmine chattering excitedly about how she was going to drive and bump into everyone else. Lydia laughed, swept up in her daughter's enthusiasm. When it was their turn, Jasmine chose a blue car, and Lydia picked a red one. As the music started and the cars sprang to life, Jasmine drove with all her might, aiming straight for her mom's car with giggles and shouts. After their bumper car adventure, they strolled over to one of the mall's biggest and most popular bookstores. The store glowed with neon lights, and inside, shelves overflowed with books, games, and accessories. Jasmine's eyes widened in awe. "Wow, Mom! Look at all these books!" she exclaimed, barely able to contain her excitement. "They sure have a lot. Let's see what we can find for you," Lydia said, smiling as they headed to the children's section. Jasmine's attention was immediately caught by the newest book series she had been dreaming about for weeks. "Here it is, Mom. This is the one I want," she said, pointing to the series with reverence. "Let's take a closer look," Lydia replied, picking up the book and reading the blurb. "This looks like the perfect birthday present." Jasmine's excitement was palpable. "Are you sure, Mom? Can we really get it?" she asked, eyes wide with hope. "Of course, sweetheart. It's your special day, and you deserve it," Lydia said, placing the book in the shopping cart with a smile. With their choice made, they headed to the checkout. Lydia paid while Jasmine eagerly watched, ready to dive into her new book as soon as they got home. "Thanks, Mom. This is the best birthday ever," Jasmine said, wrapping her arms around her mother in a tight hug. "I'm so happy you're enjoying it, Jasmine." "Let's make the most of today," Lydia replied, returning the hug with a smile. As they left the store, Jasmine could barely contain her excitement, already imagining the adventures waiting for her in the pages of her new book. Jasmine couldn't stop talking about how she planned to read all the new books she had picked out and how amazed her friends would be when they found out. "Are we going home now?" she asked with eager anticipation. "We can," Lydia replied with a smile, "but how about we grab some ice cream first?" Jasmine's face lit up with excitement. "Great idea! Ice cream to celebrate!" she exclaimed. They made their way to the mall's ice cream shop, where Jasmine happily chose her favorite, chocolate with caramel sauce, while Lydia opted for vanilla with chocolate chunks. They settled at a table, enjoying their treats and basking in the joy of the moment. "Mom, today has been the best day ever." "Thank you for everything," Jasmine said, her eyes shining with gratitude. Lydia smiled warmly, reaching out to gently touch her daughter's shoulder. "You deserve it, sweetheart. I'll always do whatever I can to make you happy," she replied lovingly. Just as they were about to leave, their pleasant moment was shattered by the sound of loud, mocking laughter behind them. "Look at this, a mom and daughter out buying books. How adorable," sneered one of the teenagers, a blonde girl who looked about 15, her voice dripping with disdain. Lydia tried to brush off the remark, but Jasmine's discomfort was evident. They tried to walk away, but the group of 4 teenagers followed closely, continuing their taunts. Hey, kid, you think you're smarter than us just because you read? Another teenager jeered, giving Jasmine a light shove. Please, just leave us alone, Lydia said, her voice calm yet firm. We don't want any trouble. Oh, look at that. Mommy's coming to the rescue, mocked a third girl, laughing cruelly. Jasmine, now frightened, clung tightly to her mother's hand. Lydia felt her anger rising, but knew she had to stay composed for Jasmine's sake. Let's go, Jasmine, she said, trying to steer them away from the teenagers. But the bullies weren't ready to back down. The apparent leader of the group stepped in front of them, blocking their path. We're just having some fun. Why don't you join us? She said with a malicious grin, the tension thickening in the air. Lydia understood the danger, but knew she had to keep Jasmine safe without escalating the situation. Unfortunately, the teenagers showed no signs of relenting. Mom, I'm scared, Jasmine whispered, squeezing Lydia's hand even tighter. It's okay, sweetheart. We'll get out of here, Lydia reassured her, trying to keep her voice steady. But before they could move, the leader of the gang shoved Lydia forcefully. The anger Lydia had been holding back exploded. She shoved the girl back, her voice ringing with authority. That's enough! Leave us alone now, she commanded. The situation rapidly spiraled out of control. The teenagers began to surround Lydia and Jasmine, and one even tried to drag Jasmine away from her mother. That was the breaking point for Lydia. Driven by protective instinct, she pushed the leader harder, sending her sprawling to the ground. Mom! Jasmine screamed, her voice filled with terror. Before Lydia could fully grasp what was happening, a man, clearly the father of the girl she had pushed, appeared, his face twisted with fury. What do you think you're doing? You hit my daughter, he shouted, storming toward Lydia. They started it. They were bullying and threatening my daughter, Lydia retorted, still shielding Jasmine. I don't care. I'm calling the police, the man yelled, already dialing on his phone. Lydia's heart raced as she saw the situation spinning out of control. She looked down at Jasmine, who was now sobbing uncontrollably. It's going to be okay, Jasmine. I promise, Lydia said, trying to soothe her daughter. Within minutes, the police arrived, quickly assessing the scene. The furious father wasted no time spinning the story to favor his daughter. She attacked my daughter for no reason, he accused, pointing an angry finger at Lydia. That's not true. They were the ones provoking us. I was only trying to protect my daughter, Lydia protested, her voice trembling with emotion. But the officers seemed to lean towards the other man's story. We'll sort this out at the station, one of them said firmly as he approached Lydia. Put your hands behind your back. Mom, no! Jasmine cried out in disbelief, watching in horror as the officers cuffed her mother. It's okay, Jasmine, Lydia reassured her, forcing a calm tone despite the fear gnawing at her. Stay calm. Everything will be all right. As the police led Lydia away, Jasmine was left under the watchful eye of a store employee. The wave of confusion and injustice hit her like a storm, leaving her helpless as her mother disappeared from view. Fear and uncertainty swirled in Jasmine's mind. What would happen now? At the station, Lydia struggled to make sense of how things had escalated so quickly. She was placed in a cold, stark cell, her hands still bound by the cuffs, waiting anxiously for what came next. Helplessness and a deep sense of injustice gnawed at her, but her thoughts kept drifting back to Jasmine, who must be terrified and alone. Back at the mall, Jasmine sat in the security office, shock still gripping her as she tried to process the events. An older woman, Mrs. Thompson, one of the mall employees, approached her gently. It's going to be okay, sweetheart. We'll get in touch with your mom or a relative, Mrs. Thompson said soothingly. I just want my mom, Jasmine whispered, tears brimming in her eyes. I understand, dear. We'll sort this out as soon as we can, Mrs. Thompson replied, picking up the phone to call Jasmine's grandmother. Meanwhile, at the police station, Lydia was finally led into an interrogation room where a state-appointed attorney was waiting. The young woman, who introduced herself as Emily Clark, had a confident and reassuring presence. Ms. Parker, I'm here to help, she said as she sat down across from Lydia. Thank you. I'm worried about my daughter. She's alone at the mall, Lydia responded, her voice heavy with concern. I understand. Let's work quickly to get this resolved. Please, tell me everything that happened, Emily requested. Lydia recounted the events from the moment they entered the bookstore to the heated confrontation. Emily listened closely, taking notes. It sounds like you were acting in self-defense to protect your daughter. We'll focus on that, Emily said, offering Lydia a small glimmer of hope. At the mall, Jasmine's grandmother, Lisa, rushed in, her face etched with worry. Spotting Jasmine in the security office, she immediately ran over and pulled her into a tight embrace. "Jasmine, are you okay, sweetheart?" she asked, her voice trembling. "Grandma, they took Mom. They said she hit someone, but it wasn't her fault," Jasmine sobbed. "It's going to be okay, darling. We'll figure this out," Lisa assured her, trying to stay calm despite the turmoil inside. Determined to set things right, Lisa took Jasmine to the police station. Once there, she met with Emily, who updated her on the situation. "Your daughter is facing assault charges, but it appears to be a case of self-defense. We'll do everything we can to resolve this quickly," Emily explained. "Thank you. I just want this nightmare to end," Lisa said, gripping Jasmine's hand tightly. Emily nodded and immediately went to speak with the officer in charge. As they waited, Lisa comforted Jasmine, whispering assurances that everything would turn out okay. Soon, Emily returned, a smile on her face. "I spoke with the officer. They're going to release Lydia on bail while they investigate further. We should be able to take her home soon," she said. Jasmine breathed a sigh of relief and hugged her grandmother tightly, grateful that the ordeal was finally coming to an end. "Thank you, Ms. Clark," Lisa said, feeling as though a massive burden had just been lifted from her heart. Moments later, Lydia emerged from the cell, her face softening with relief as she spotted Lisa and Jasmine waiting anxiously for her. Jasmine, her eyes brimming with tears of joy, sprinted toward her mother, wrapping her arms around her in a tight embrace. "Mom, I knew you'd come back," she whispered, her voice trembling with emotion. "It's okay now, darling. Let's go home," Lydia replied, pulling Jasmine and Lisa close as they walked out of the police station together. Though Lydia knew that the road ahead would be filled with obstacles, at that moment she found solace in the fact that her family was by her side. They would tackle whatever challenges lay before them, united and determined to overcome the fallout of the day's events. Back at home, Lydia sank into the couch, exhaustion etched on her face, while Lisa busied herself in the kitchen, preparing some tea. Jasmine stayed close to her mother, clutching her hand as if afraid to let go. "Mom, are they going to take you away again?" Jasmine asked, her voice small and filled with worry. "No, sweetheart. We're together now, and we'll find a way to fix this," Lydia assured her, trying to soothe her daughter's fears. Just then, Lisa walked into the living room, carrying 3 steaming mugs of tea. "We're going to figure out how to prove you were defending yourself," she said with determination, handing out the mugs. "We won't let this injustice continue." "Thank you, Mom. I'm going to need all the help I can get," Lydia replied, taking a grateful sip of tea. The next day, Lydia and Lisa met with Emily, their attorney, in a small office cluttered with documents and notes related to the case. "We need to gather witnesses who can back up your account of what happened," Emily explained. "And we absolutely need to secure the security camera footage from the bookstore." "We'll get it. What else can we do?" Lisa asked, eager to help. "We should also speak to the store manager and see if they're willing to cooperate." "Any witnesses who were present could make a significant difference," Emily advised. Lydia and Lisa returned to the mall, their steps heavy with the memories of that fateful day. They were welcomed into the office of Ms. Reynolds, the bookstore manager, a middle-aged woman with a kind demeanor. "Ms. Reynolds, we desperately need your help. The security cameras in your store could prove that Lydia was only defending herself," Lisa pleaded. "I understand the situation and I want to help. Let's see what we can retrieve from the security cameras," Ms. Reynolds responded, picking up the phone to call the mall security manager. As they waited, Lydia's eyes wandered around the store, replaying the harrowing events in her mind. Finally, the security manager arrived with the footage in hand. "Here are the recordings. Let's review them together," he said, pressing play. The video clearly showed the group of teenagers provoking Lydia and Jasmine, leading to the inevitable confrontation. It was undeniable. Lydia had been protecting her daughter. "This is exactly what we needed. We must take this to the police," Emily declared, copying the footage. "Thank you for your help, Ms. Reynolds," Lydia said, a sense of relief washing over her. "You're welcome." "I hope this helps clear everything up," Ms. Reynolds replied. With the crucial evidence in hand, Emily promptly met with the officer in charge, presenting the footage. As the officer reviewed the tape, it became clear that Lydia had acted in self-defense. "This changes a lot," the officer admitted, agreeing to reassess the case in light of the new evidence. A week later, Lydia faced a hearing with Lisa, Jasmine, and Emily standing firmly by her side. The lawyer for the assaulted teenager's father appeared less confident, visibly shaken by the irrefutable evidence. During the hearing, Emily presented the security footage and called upon witnesses, including store employees, who testified to the truth of Lydia's version of events. "It's clear that Ms. Parker was merely defending her daughter in a threatening situation," Emily stated in her closing argument. After careful consideration of the evidence and testimonies, the judge delivered his verdict. Based on the evidence presented, it's evident that Ms. Parker acted in self-defense. "The assault charges are hereby dropped," the judge declared. Lydia exhaled deeply, wrapping her arms around Lisa and Jasmine in a tight embrace. The nightmare that had almost torn their lives apart was finally over. "We couldn't have done this without you, Emily." "Thank you," Lydia said, shaking the lawyer's hand with heartfelt gratitude. Emily smiled warmly, replying, "It was my honor to help. You deserve justice." Word of the Parker family's ordeal quickly spread, catching the attention of local journalists and reporters. Soon, their story was being discussed on various TV and radio shows, bringing the injustice they faced into the public eye. Recognizing the importance of sharing their experience, Lydia and Lisa knew they had to raise awareness about the racism and inequality still present in society. One morning, Lydia received a call from a local TV show producer inviting them for a live interview. After a brief discussion, Lydia and Lisa agreed to share their story with a wider audience. "I think it's important for people to hear what we've been through," Lisa said, holding Lydia's hand. "It might help others in similar situations." Lydia nodded in agreement, her resolve strengthening. On the day of the interview, the Parker family arrived at the TV studio. Jasmine was visibly nervous, but Lydia and Lisa comforted her. "It's going to be okay, sweetheart. We just need to speak the truth," Lydia said gently, stroking Jasmine's hair. They were welcomed by the show's host, Samantha Reed, who led them to the makeup room to prepare. "We're so grateful you accepted our invitation. Your story can make a real difference," Samantha said with a kind smile. "Thank you for giving us this platform," Lisa replied. The interview began with Samantha summarizing the Parker family's ordeal, detailing the events at the mall and the police station. She then invited Lydia, Lisa, and Jasmine to join her on stage. "Thank you all for being here. Lydia, can you start by telling us how this all began?" Samantha asked. Lydia took a deep breath and recounted the day. "It was Jasmine's birthday, and we were at the mall looking for a special gift. Everything was fine until a group of teenagers verbally attacked us in the bookstore," she explained. Lisa picked up the story, describing how the situation escalated and how Lydia was unjustly arrested for defending their daughter. "It was terrifying and completely unfair," Lisa said, holding Jasmine's hand tightly. Jasmine, her voice trembling, shared how scared she had been, but how her mother had protected her. "She didn't do anything wrong," Jasmine said, tears welling up in her eyes. Samantha listened with empathy, acknowledging the pain in their story. "It's truly a powerful story. What do you hope to accomplish by sharing this?" she asked. Lydia's voice was firm as she responded. "We want to raise awareness about racism and the injustices that still exist. It's important for people to understand that these issues are real and that we must stand together to fight them." Lisa added, "We also want to thank everyone who supported us, especially our lawyer, Emily Clark. Without her, we wouldn't have found justice." The interview resonated deeply with the public, who responded with an outpouring of support for the Parker family. Civil rights activists also took notice, launching awareness campaigns and advocating for policy changes. As they returned home, Lydia and Lisa felt a sense of relief mixed with hope. Their fight was far from over, but they were more determined than ever to continue advocating for a better future for Jasmine and other children who might face similar challenges. "I think we did the right thing by sharing our story," Lisa said later that evening. "The support we're receiving shows that our voices can make a difference." Lydia agreed, hugging Lisa and Jasmine tightly. "We'll keep fighting, not just for us, but for everyone who faces injustice." The Parker family emerged from this experience more united and stronger than ever, ready to confront whatever challenges lay ahead. With the positive response to their interview and the relief of overcoming their legal battle, life began to settle back into a routine. Lydia returned to her job, while Lisa focused on helping Jasmine regain her confidence after the traumatic incident. During a quiet family dinner a few weeks later, they discussed how they could turn their experience into a force for positive change. "We should stay involved in the fight against racism and social injustice," Lisa suggested as she served dinner. "Maybe we could give talks at schools or support organizations that advocate for these causes." Lydia nodded thoughtfully. "You're right. Education and awareness are key to making a lasting change." Since the incident, Jasmine had become more reserved, but her resolve was stronger than ever as she looked at her parents with determination. "I want to make a difference too. People need to understand that racism is wrong and that everyone deserves respect," she declared with a seriousness that caught her mother, Lisa, off guard. Lisa's smile widened with pride. "You're already making an impact, Jasmine. Your bravery inspires us all," she said, squeezing her daughter's hand warmly. In the days that followed, Lydia and Lisa reached out to local schools, proposing to give talks on diversity, inclusion, and fighting racism. At the same time, Jasmine started engaging in extracurricular activities that promoted equality and mutual respect among her peers. One afternoon, Lydia received a phone call from a high school principal who was eager to schedule a talk about social justice and civil rights. "This is wonderful news. Let's begin there. The more minds we can reach, the better," Lisa said, her voice brimming with excitement. The following week, Lydia and Lisa threw themselves into preparing for the talk, gathering materials and carefully outlining the key messages they wanted to convey to the students. Jasmine was equally enthusiastic, helping to create slides and visual aids for the presentation. On the day of the event, the family arrived at the school filled with anticipation. They were welcomed by the principal and escorted to a classroom where eager students awaited them. "Hello, everyone. I'm Lydia Parker, and this is my wife, Lisa, and our daughter, Jasmine. Today, we're here to discuss a crucial issue, social justice and civil rights," Lydia began, her tone both serious and impassioned. Throughout the talk, they shared personal stories, underscoring the importance of respecting diversity and urging the students to stand against racism and discrimination. Jasmine, too, had her moment to speak, offering her perspective as a young African American. "I know what it's like to feel fear because of my skin color, but I also know we can make a difference if we stand together and fight for a just world," she said with conviction. The students listened intently, asked questions, and shared their own experiences and concerns. By the end of the session, many expressed gratitude for the insights and felt empowered to promote equality in their own lives. As they left the school, Lydia, Lisa, and Jasmine felt a sense of accomplishment. "I think we made a real impact today. These students are inspired to create positive change," Lydia said, beaming at Lisa. "I'm so proud of both of you." "Jasmine, you were incredible in there," Lisa added, embracing her daughter. Jasmine smiled, feeling a deep sense of satisfaction from their shared achievement. "There's still much to do, but we're on the right path. Together, we can change the world," she said, her voice filled with determination. After the school talk, the family received an invitation to attend a city conference on civil rights and racial equality. The conference would gather activists, community leaders, and scholars to discuss strategies for fostering inclusion and combating systemic racism. During one session, Lydia was invited to join a panel on criminal justice and the effects of racial bias within the judicial system. "Lydia, thank you for sharing your story. Could you elaborate on your experience and how it highlights the challenges many face today?" the panel moderator, a respected civil rights attorney, asked. Lydia felt honored to speak and address the injustice she and her family had endured. "Certainly. What happened to us is a clear example of how racial bias can corrupt justice. I was wrongfully accused and arrested while trying to protect my daughter from a racist attack. Unfortunately, this is a reality many face daily, and we must continue to fight for meaningful change," Lydia responded with heartfelt sincerity. In the audience, Lisa, sitting next to Jasmine, was filled with a mix of pride and sorrow as she listened to Lydia speak so eloquently about their experiences. "She's doing an incredible job up there," Lisa whispered to Jasmine, who nodded in agreement, looking at her mother with admiration. "She's helping so many by sharing our story," Jasmine replied. After the panel, several people approached Lydia, thanking her for her bravery in sharing her story and inspiring them to become more involved in the fight for social justice. Meanwhile, Jasmine became more engaged in extracurricular activities at school, joining a student group focused on discussions about diversity and equality. She quickly emerged as a leader, motivating her peers to educate themselves about racism and the importance of inclusion. One day, Jasmine returned home brimming with excitement from a group meeting. "Mom, I have an idea. What if we started a program at school to teach students about social justice and civil rights? We could bring in speakers, organize debates, and even launch community projects," Jasmine proposed eagerly. Lydia and Lisa exchanged impressed glances, moved by Jasmine's initiative. "That's a fantastic idea, Jasmine. It could truly make a difference in our community," Lydia said proudly. "We'll support you every step of the way to make it happen," Lisa added, smiling at their daughter. With unwavering determination, Jasmine set out to turn her vision into reality. She rallied the support of teachers, the principal, and fellow students, eventually presenting a comprehensive plan for the program. It included workshops, cultural events, and community service projects aimed at promoting equality and raising awareness about racial issues. As Jasmine dedicated herself to this new project, Lydia continued her advocacy, participating in marches, awareness events, and sharing her story whenever possible. A year after the mall incident, the Parker family reflected on how far they had come. They were grateful for the support they had received and proud of the strides they had made in the fight against racism. Although they knew the journey was far from over, they remained resolute in their mission to advocate and educate, determined to build a more just and equal future for all.